Hello and welcome to this tutorial, and in this tutorial we'll be creating an application which is called as a workout advisor. So the workout advisor is basically help you to go through your workout. So for example, if you select a chest workout, then it is going to list out the workout schedule for you. So in order to create this application, we first need to select a new Android project. So we simply click here, which is start a new Android Studio project, and let's name this application as workouts advisor. Then click next, and the API level which we are going to select in this case is going to be the API level 15. Then we click next, and the activity which we are going to choose is going to be the blank activity. So make sure that you select the blank activity and then hit next. And finally we are going to create our activity, and we are going to name this activity as find workout activity. And we are going to name this activity as find workout activity because this activity right here is going to find the workouts for us. So when we name it, we simply hit finish. So as you could see, this is the basic layout which we get on creating a project. So the first thing which we will need to do is that we will need to discuss the layout of our application. So basically this workouts advisor is going to have a certain set of options. So right over here we are going to have an input such as a list box or the drop down menu, and after the drop down menu we are going to have a button right over here. So the drop down menu is going to consist of options like for which body part you want to work out for. So for example, this drop down menu will contain options like chest, legs, biceps and triceps, and then we are going to have a button right over here. So when we select an appropriate body part and when we hit the button right here, it is going to list out the workouts which we need to perform. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and create the layout for this. So in this case, what we are going to do is that instead of just dragging the elements onto the screen, we are going to type in some XML code. So go to the text view, and the first thing which we will need to do is that we are going to set an ID for this text view right here. So in order to set an ID, we type Android ID equals @ID, and let's say we name this as text view. And now once we have this text view ID with us, the next thing which we'll need to add is going to be a button. So in order to add a button, we go here and we use the button tag. So we type button, and the layout width is going to be wrap content, and also the layout height is going to be wrap content. Now once the layout width and height are set, the next thing which we will need to do is that we will need to leave some margin from the top. But before leaving some margin, let's go ahead and let's assign some ID to the button so that the button could be uniquely identified. So in order to assign an ID, we type Android ID equals @ID, and let's say we assign this an ID of, let's say, button. Now once we have assigned the ID, the next thing which we do is that we need to set the text of this button. So in order to set the text, we type Android text, and let's say the text in the button is new button. So now if we switch to the design view, as you could see, this is our layout and the button is actually getting placed onto the text. So the next thing which we'll need to do is that we'll need to shift the button below the text view. So as we are using the relative layout, we could specify where the button should be placed. So in order to do that, we type Android layout underscore below, and then we specify the ID of a particular widget under which we want to place this button. So in this case we want to place it below the text view. So the ID for text view is nothing but text view. So once we add that line, as you could notice, the button is now placed right below the text view, and that is because we are using the relative layout. So basically relative layout gives us an option to place the elements relative to each other. So now once we are done with this, the next thing which we need to do is that we need to add the list box or the selection box right here, which is going to contain a lot of options for us to select from. So in this case, in Android, we are going to use something which is called as the spinner. So a spinner is similar to the list box. So you basically have a set of options which you could select from. So we go right here and we add the spinner. So the tag which we are using to create the spinner is going to be spinner, and also to specify the layout width we use wrap content, and for the layout height we use wrap content as well. So there are some other things which we need to specify into the spinner. The first thing is going to be the ID of the spinner. So we type in Android ID equals @+id, and as the spinner is going to contain the workout type, we are going to name it as workout type. Now once we have specified the ID, you could just switch on to the design view, and as you could see, this is our spinner. But the thing is that we cannot actually have a look at it clearly, and that is because each and every element is placed onto one another. So let's go ahead and fix that. So the first thing which we'll need to do is that you'll need to leave some margin for the spinner from the top. So in order to leave some margin, we type Android layout margin top, and from the top, let's say we want the margin to be 35 dp. So if you switch to design view, you could see that it is placed well below. Then we type Android layout align parent top, and we set this to true. So now if we switch to the design view, as you could see, the button is still here. So the next thing which we'll need to do is that we'll need to place the button relative to the sub item. So we go inside the button right here, and before changing the layout of the button, let's go ahead and change the ID of the button. So as this button is going to find the workouts for us when we click it, so we name it as find workout. So now the spinner has the ID of workout type, the button has the ID of find workout. So in order to place the button properly, we go here and we type Android layout underscore align left, and to the left we specify an ID, and we specify the ID as workout type. And one more thing which we change in the button is that this text view right here. So instead of using the text view, we are going to specify here the workout type, as we want to place it below the spinner. So we specify here workout type. And if we switch to design view, as you could see, now the button is placed down here, and now we want to place this text right below the button. So in order to do that, we go right here in the text view and we type in Android layout below, and as we want to specify it below the button, so we check the ID of the button. So the ID of the button is find workout. So we type here find workout, and now if you switch to design view, as you could see, everything is aligned properly. Now the next thing which we need to do is that when we click on the button right here, as you could see, a light bulb appears. So the thing is that you need to set the reference to this button right here. So in order to add a reference to this, we simply click right here, then we click on this arrow and we type in extract string resource, and we name this resource as find workout, then we hit enter. Now the next thing which we need to do is that we need to add a string reference to this hello world or the text view right here. So this is our text view. Now if we want to change it to, let's say, workouts here, and if we switch to design view, as you could see, the text changed, but it is going to show us a light bulb right over here, and that is because we have not set the string resource for it. So in order to set the string resource, we simply click on it and we click this arrow right here and we select extract string resource, and the resource name which we are going to use for this is going to be workout. So once we have workout, so now we simply click OK, and the string resource would be added to this right here. Now if we switch to the XML file which is present right over here in the values and inside the strings.xml, you could see that we have a reference to the string. Now if you want to change this to something else, so if you want to say your workouts here, now if we switch back to the XML file, as you could see, the text has been successfully changed. So one more thing which you could do is that if you are finding it difficult to design the user interface by just going into the XML, so you could also drag these elements and drop it to the place which you desire. So for example, if you want to place it to center, we simply drag it and place it over here. So now let's save the code and let's try to run this application onto the emulator so as to check if we have performed everything correctly. So as you could see, our application has been started on the emulator. So it is displaying the name Workouts Advisor, and here we have our spinner. So basically we have not yet added any elements onto the spinner. So in the next tutorial we'll be adding some elements to the spinner, such as the body part which we want to train, and then we have our button here, and here the workouts will be displayed. So this kind of gives you the basic idea of how our app works. So basically here we are going to have the body parts which we need to train, and then we are going to hit this button right here, and depending upon the part selected, it is going to suggest certain workouts for it. So that's it for this tutorial, and in the next tutorial we are going to add up the elements to the spinner so that we could have choices between them. And when we select a particular choice, and then when we hit this button right over here, we get the suggestions depending upon the option selected. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you.